Okay, so yesterday I uploaded the first half of this video, which is tips for getting started in the medical field, and this is part two to that. So we are on tip number 7 out of 20, and tip number 7 is avoid gossip. It can be so difficult to avoid gossip, I will let you know that right now, especially if you work in long term care settings. From my own personal experience, but just in the medical field in general, there is a lot of gossip that goes on. Um, it might seem like a good way for you to make new friends if you're at a new job, but you have to be aware of what you say to certain people because certain people act like your friend to your face and then they go and twist the words that you say when they're repeating it to someone else, or they go, you know, tell your nurse manager that you said something that you didn't, or they may talk to whatever manager in whatever um, area that you work in. It's just like when you first get started, you don't want people to think that that's all you're there for. Go there, do your work. You're not there to make friends, you're there to care for your patients or do whatever your job responsibilities are. And, it can give you a bad reputation just from the get go. And you don't want that when you're first getting into the medical field. So, um, the moment that you start talking about somebody else with others, they will kind of label you as somebody who badmouths or gossips about others. And then, they won't want to talk to you, and, you won't really have any friends or any good, strong, positive relationships with your coworkers. And it's better to just not gossip at all because it makes you seem untrustworthy, and, it can affect your whole work environment. And I've seen people who ended up quitting their job because they gossiped, and, it just didn't, it was bad. Number 8, one of the most important ones, learn how to say no. There have been so many times, and I've told you guys this many, many times, where I have agreed to work overtime because I'm a people pleaser. I have a hard time saying no. And it ended up with me in the hospital for 7 days in ICU because I got so freaking sick because I wasn't eating right. I wasn't like eating enough. I wasn't getting enough sleep. My body didn't have time to repair itself between shifts. And it was just like, it took a huge toll. Now, obviously, it's okay to accept overtime, if you need the money or if you just want to help out, but don't say yes all the time because then you will be the person who they come to every single time. And honestly, even if you say yes once in a nursing home, they kind of expect you to say yes again and again and again, and they will come and they will ask you. And you have to have a good work life balance. It's so important. You have to make sure that you're making enough time for that self care because, especially working in the healthcare field, you need to have that balance where you're getting enough rest, you're getting the right dietary components, and you're taking enough time to provide yourself with self care because you can't take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself, and you can't pour out of an empty cup. So, you have to set boundaries, you have to say no sometimes. Don't always say yes because they will overwork you, especially in long term care, especially in long term care. They will constantly be asking you to work extra. So you have to make it known that you will not always say yes. Um, Number 9 is don't let negativity ruin your perception of your career. Um, this is very true. I've had people since I became a CNA who would tell me that CNA is just about wiping butts. That's all we do. But in reality, we do a lot more than that. And you have to know that people are going to say things. They may say things negative about whatever career path you've chosen, whether it's CNA, phlebotomy, medical assisting, nurse, doctor, whatever. Maybe they're jealous. Maybe, they don't understand what you see in a medical career. Not every industry is for everybody. And, they're going to have their own opinion. People are entitled to their own opinion, but, only you and other people who work in your position know what you go through, what you deal with, what you do for work, the types of things that you do. Like, obviously, working as a CNA is not only wiping butts. We do a lot more. We hold hands when people die. We are there when their loved ones don't come visit them. We celebrate holidays. You know, there's been times where I have sat there and prayed with someone as they were going to sleep. I have sang songs with memory care residents because they're just lonely or they're scared at night. It's so much more. You have to realize that people are going to say that because they've never worked in that field before. They have never gone through the things that you've done. They don't experience or fully know what you do on a daily basis. So just, take it with a grain of salt. If you want to educate them on what your job responsibilities actually consist of, then feel free to do so. But just realize that not everybody's going to understand. Not everybody is going to, be super happy that you chose whatever career path that you chose. The point is, if you love what you do, or if you enjoy your job, or if you feel good about the job that you do, then that's all that matters. Number 10 is to write everything down. I would definitely say this is true when you are training, when you are brand new to the facility or to the job in general. It's good to have a little notebook. Like if you wear scrubs as part of your job, keep a little tiny, like you can get them at the dollar store. They're like little tiny notebooks, and keep a pen in your pocket. This helps you remember the pertinent information that you need, whether it's door codes, whether it's about who's continent or incontinent, if they have a catheter, things like that. It's important that you know these things. So, especially when you are doing orientation on your new job, it's good to know that. I always write down door codes. Like if there's something I need to know about a certain resident or patient, then I know that. Like I will write down um, kind of what the routine is if I have time. If not, I'll write it down a little bit later. It's just better to know so that when you're on your own, you have that you can reference. So then you don't just forget and like freeze up and, don't complete something that you were supposed to complete. Um, and it's a little bit less overwhelming as a new employee or as someone who's new to whatever career field or like whatever position that you're choosing. If you're new, like as a new CNA, I've always written down like things about which, like, for example, say Miss Jones in room 1A has a catheter. I'll write down F for Foley and I'll circle it. And that's kind of my own little shorthand that I've developed since becoming a CNA. Like when I was working in the hospital, I would write F with a circle around it, and that meant Foley. So then I would know that I needed to go empty the Foley and record like input, output, and things like that. So it's just for your own good to write and make notes. Number 11 is don't rush orientation. And this, again, is very true because at my newest job working at the assisted living facility, my second day, I was supposed to be on orientation. They just kind of threw me to the wolves, and I told you guys about it in the video. They threw me to the wolves and had me, like, basically doing everything on my own because somebody called off. It is important that if they are offering you a certain number of days of orientation, that you take those days of orientation, because you need to know what you're expected to do, what your role entails at the facility. It also lets like your management, well, it gives you an opportunity to talk to your management or your preceptor or whoever is doing your orientation if you need help with something. So don't be afraid to ask for help, especially during orientation, because nobody expects you to know everything right away. It's not fair for anybody to expect you to know everything right away. I have worked at different facilities where people get just thrown onto the floor by themselves, and you don't know where anything is, you don't know where the supply closets are, you don't know who's continent or incontinent, so you're checking on people who don't need to be checked on, and it's really frustrating. So orientation, you should take it because orientation is the time to make mistakes. It's the time to ask questions. It's the time to make sure that you know what you're expected to do on every shift. You learn where everything is in the facility, where you'll be working. You learn about the people that you're working with. You learn about your residents. You learn about, like, I don't know, when you should take a lunch break, how things go in the facility, like emergency policies and things like that. You learn those things. So it's good to take your time with orientation. And again, this video is getting long, so there may be a part 3 to this. So I hope you guys don't mind that this video is multiple parts long. I don't want to make the video parts too long, so that's why I'm kind of splitting it up. So we are on 12, and I will come back and start with tomorrow's video. We'll start with number 12. So again, take your time with orientation and make sure that you are asking the questions that you want answers to. Make sure that you're giving yourself enough time and grace to, get used to your new role and your new job and your new facility. So, anyways, I will come back tomorrow with part 3. Hopefully, part 3 will be the last part.